welcome to the second video in the series for the XRMPM solution. So this video is going to just be a quick run through of the use cases that I go through in the blog post. So there's four use cases in total. There's two core use cases. So just a brief kind of introduction that kind of links to the purpose of the solution in terms of those two core use cases. Basically, I wanted to make this solution as flexible as possible, and I understand that people don't, a lot of people don't actually run a kind of strictly agile environment, and kind of like using terminology like sprints, burn downs, etc., etc. People kind of just get intimidated and go, well, I don't kind of do that kind of stuff, and I kind of didn't want people to feel that way. So kind of like for those people, don't feel that way, because you don't need to know anything about Agile, you don't need to be implementing Agile, run an Agile project management kind of methodology or anything. This is why I've done two core use cases. The first one is if you are running the like an Agile kind of very strict Agile kind of implementation of your projects. Which is kind of like if you have, the key to this is if you've kind of got a project team basically, your people are only kind of working on that sprint. And then the other side of it is if you just want to just use this as kind of a real easy to use kind of like workload management tool in terms of all your sprints are basically your breakdown of kind of pieces of work. There are a few rules to follow in terms of, it kind of sounds intimidating, it's not meant to be like that. It's just in terms of the rules, something that I'll just explain kind of before I go through it, because essentially if you've got a team of two people and those two people are either working on different days of the project, so if you have, say for example, one person's working 7 days while the other person's working 5, or even if they are both working 5 but actual different physical days, not that a day is physical, but you kind of get what I mean. And also if the two people are actually working a different hour set, so they aren't working a full 7-hour day, they aren't both working 3.5 hours, for example. So if any of those three scenarios kind of are true, that's not a problem. You've just got to split your sprints up. So for those two people, there'll be two separate sprints, and then whatever's applicable to their scenario, you'll then enter in the dialogue. So that's what I mean in terms of it is completely flexible. You might kind of think, oh, but I don't really want to manage all these sprints. Well, maybe not, but like what some of the demos that I'm going to be going through and kind of building a solution, it's really not hard. So you can have 100 sprints in a project. You'll get all the analytics up to the project, the core ones, and also, like I said, all you have to do is it's the same thing that you're going to have to update. The only information you need to be able to manage these sprints are per day. How much have people actually spent, how much time have people spent on it, and then you compare that to the estimated burn down, so essentially you've got that burn down divided by the team size, and the actual effort remaining on that sprint. So essentially in that scenario, all that someone has to do is go, actually I think there's only kind of like 30 hours left on the project, and you can easily see what should be left as well, and that's how your burn down chart basically gets drawn. So I'll stop talking and just kind of go through the use cases. So the first one that I was going to go through was the kind of main Agile kind of implementation. To be fair, these are very, very, very similar use cases. It really is more data based on how, not database, actual data based on how you what information you actually enter into the process. So let's say cat project. I've already done cat project. Let's just say cat project 2. Again, I'm just kind of entering kind of, it's not really main information for the video, but it's just kind of core information to capture. You can do some really cool advanced finds and reporting methods in terms of all projects for a particular account, etc., etc., etc. Descriptions, multi-line of text for a reason. It's so that you can enter all really interesting stuff like I'm just doing right now. So this could just be kind of a little bit of a notepad that if you want people to actually use. I do kind of say just ignore this kind of stuff at the moment. So we've just made it. So now we want to go create our sprint. So essentially, if you are following on the blog post, I'm actually on step 5 at the moment. Click the 3 dots on the ribbon bar and select Run Dialog. Select Create Sprint. So this is where you get your box open. So this is kind of what is going to be differentiation, the differentiation, I can't talk, the differentiation between the kind of agile-esque implementation and just when you're treating the sprints as a workload. This is and when you see them both, you kind of see that there really is no difference. It is just all data-based. So I'm going to enter 20. So there's going to be 20 working days. Let's just pretend it's a month with 20 working days. And it's going to be a full day, and there's going to be, let's just say there's going to be 5 people working on a project. It's going to be nice and boring and just say sprint 1. And it's going to be the 1st to the 28th, because I believe that is 20 days. So essentially this is what I mean by it's a real kind of like strict implementation in terms of there's 20 days between the start and end day. It's an actual dedicated project team. All these people are going to be working for 7 hours for those 20 days, all those same 20 days. I click next. And this kind of just takes a various amount of time, again depending on my PC. It's kind of woke up today. So click finish. So again, if you're following on the blog post, I am on step 10 at the moment. So this is what I mean. I've kind of done this in less than kind of like 2 minutes at the moment. Sprints. You'll see that the sprint that I've just made is there. And there's all my work basically. It's all kind of like this is just essentially the information you just put in the dialogue. The total capacity is worked out between the effort per day, the number of days, and the effort per day times by the team size. The actual specific calculation is in the documentation. The burn down rate is effort per day times by the team size. And essentially, like that burn down rate is basically just the amount of effort you expect people to do, like all 5 of them on a daily basis. If you want to work out the actual, you've got the effort per day and the hours there per person. The burn down rate does follow through into the day as well, just for visibility. So essentially that's the end, apart from the only thing I haven't done is step 14, which is refresh the active days, because I'm a little bit of a manual kind of update freak. So just do save. And then that's essentially the end of use case 1. So what I'm then going to go to is I will do another one. This is use case 2. This is basically there's nothing to do with Agile in terms of cat project number 2. Let's just say number 3. So I've already done number 2. Again, I'm just running through. So I've made my project. I'll go to the 3 dots, so start dialog, create sprint. So again, if people are following the use case, I am on step 7 at the moment. So this is where real kind of like, this is what I mentioned at the start, and this is what becomes quite important in terms of all you need to do is just spend a little bit of time thinking how many people are working on this project. If that's more than 1, that's when you've just got to think, okay, are they working on the same days, and are they spending the same amount of effort on those days? If either of those 2 questions are no, then you need to split the sprints up into their actual, so the actual people working on project is 1, and then their specific scenarios relate to the sprints themselves. So the example that I've put in the blog post are that it's 5 days, it's 3.5 hours a day, and there's only 1 person. So we're just going to do sprint main. And I'm going to actually do the same dates as before. So essentially this sprint is going to be running from the 1st of September to the 28th of September. However, you'll notice that it's only 5 working days. It might be once a week. It might be, though, when those days are, doesn't matter for the solution. That is not, it's irrelevant. Well, it's not irrelevant to your project, but in terms of this solution, this is what I mean by when I mentioned in the blog post that you can customize. You can have the specific days. That might be a field that you want to add, which is perfectly fine. Click next. Just wait for it to finish. It's really woke up today. And then you just essentially go to your sprints, and then there's all my stuff. So open number of active days. So yeah, so that's essentially the end of use case 2. So those are the 2 core use cases. I'll cover use case 3 and 4 in a separate video, so just follow that one on from this.